सर्वधर्मस्थापकत्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. O establisher of all the faiths, embodiment of all the religions, the greatest teacher among all the teachers, O Sri Ramakrishna, my salutations to you. Namaste, pranam. Sri Ramakrishna pointing out that the eternal souls, the ever-free souls, the mukta jivas, they are like those gourds, like pumpkin, where it is the fruit first and the flower, then the flower. Not like other ordinary plants, where first there is a formation of a flower and then the fruit comes out. In case of ever-free souls, fruit is already there. They already have the God realization right from their birth. But now that they have taken birth, now they have to practice some austerities, they have to practice some spiritual disciplines. So fruit they already have with them. Then comes the flower, and then we start seeing, oh, what a beautiful flower this pumpkin plant has produced. But first pumpkin plant has produced the fruit. Fruit is already there on the plant. And then Sri Ramakrishna tells Rakhal's father that these ever-free souls, these eternal souls for that matter, whichever condition, whichever circumstances they take birth, they know their divinity right from beginning. And then he gave that example of the pea plant. If a pea seed drops into the heap of dung, when it germinates, it will grow into a pea plant itself. It won't grow into any other dirty plant. It won't grow into any other plant. That pea seed has to germinate into pea plant irrespective of where that seed gets dropped. Whether it is in the well fertilized, well manured soil, there also it will grow like as a pea plant. But in a heap of dung, even if that pea seed falls, that will germinate and grow into a pea plant itself. So Sri Ramakrishna tells Rakhal's father, possibly his intention is, your son is like that. He has taken birth in your ordinary family, fine. But he is a spiritual giant who is going to grow in the coming few years. He is going to be a spiritual giant, a pea seed is going to germinate irrespective of whether that seed falls in the fertile land or in a heap of dung. Even in the ordinary families, the divine soul, when it takes birth, will grow to become a spiritual giant. Nobody can stop it. So that is what Sri Ramakrishna said. And then Sri Ramakrishna even emphasized again and again that God has given different power of manifestation of divinity among these individuals, among these beings in this creation. And then he talked about his visit to Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and how he convinced Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar that you have a greater power of manifestation of the God's power. You have much higher power of learning in you. You have much higher power of compassion in your heart than ordinary beings. That's why people far and wide, they know who Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar is. And therefore we have come to meet you. We have come to meet you not because you have grown 2 horns. You have such a compassionate heart. You are such a learned fellow. So that's the reason we have come to meet you and spend some time with you. So that was the talk with the devotees on that particular day, where Rakhal's father and Rakhal's father's father-in-law were also present. So that's how the day ended over there. And then on one Sunday, 17th June 1883, some householder devotees, Adhar, Sri M, they arrived at Dakshineshwar. And again, Rakhal was staying with Sri Ramakrishna during this period of time. Rakhal was there. One tantric devotee had come to meet Sri Ramakrishna on that particular day, and the discussion talk was going on between Sri Ramakrishna and these regular devotees plus a tantric devotee who had come that day. Now, Sri Ramakrishna talking to the devotees, he says, why shouldn't one be able to attain spirituality living the life of householder? Possibly Sri Ramakrishna was carrying forward the talk from the previous discussions with the devotees, where Rakal's father was there, Rakal's father's father-in-law was there, and the topic that day was how difficult the householder's life is. And then Sri Ramakrishna possibly, and now he is again continuing in the same vein, that why should householders not get to the stage of God realization? Why shouldn't one be able to attain spirituality living the life of householder? But it is extremely difficult. This is what he had told the other day also. Life of a householder is extremely difficult. And why it is so, Sri Ramakrishna tells further. Sages like Janaka entered the world after attaining knowledge. Now, in the olden days, a lot of sages, they attained knowledge and also got into the way of the worldly life. King Janaka, he was a great Brahmajnani and he was also a ruling king of his kingdom. He had such a great responsibility on his head to rule that kingdom as the King Janaka, although he was a Brahmajnani. There was no need for him to perform the duty of being a king. He could have happily gone to the wild forest, sat in a cave, contemplated upon the Brahmajnana, and he would have been enjoying that eternal bliss. But even after attaining Brahmajnana, he came back and he started completing his duties as king of that his kingdom. But still, it is extremely difficult. Sages like Janaka entered the world after attaining knowledge. Even after attaining knowledge, a lot of people, they came back into the worldly life, holding on to God with one hand and doing their worldly duties with the other. But still, the world is a place of a terror, Sri Ramakrishna says. Even these Brahmajnanis, they had at times, Sri Ramakrishna says, they had a tough time managing these both the things of spirituality and the worldly duties. Even a detached householder has to be careful. Howsoever a householder may be detached, I am not attached by any of these worldly attachments. Howsoever an enlightened householder may say, till the time he is a householder, he has to be extremely careful, Sri Ramakrishna says. Till the time the jnanis, they are living in the world, they have to be extremely careful. Once Janaka bent down his head at the sight of a bhairavi. Now Janaka was going and from opposite direction when bhairavi was coming. Now bhairavi is a female ascetic. The moment Janaka saw, a female form coming, Janaka bowed down his head. Bowed down his head not from the point of view of paying respect or paying reverence, but hiding his eyes. I should not look at the woman. Otherwise, the thought of lust might get ignited. With that thought, Janaka just shied away from looking at that bhairavi. The bhairavi said to him, he shrank from seeing a woman. Then bhairavi said to him, Janaka, I see you have not yet attained knowledge. You still differentiate between man and woman. And then that bhairavi gave him a dose of knowledge. She said, I see, Janaka, that you still have not attained perfection in your Advaitic knowledge. In your Brahmajnana, there is still something lacking, that you are differentiating between a man and a woman. You are shying away from looking at me. You are hiding your face. You are shrank from seeing this figure of a woman. So, even Janaka, the great Brahmajnani, he always treaded this path of worldly life with so much caution that in spite of attaining Brahmajnana, When a bhairavi comes in front, he just closes his eyes. He turns his head down and no, I don't want to look at that figure. I don't want to look at that female figure. Lest it ignites passion in me. So the Bhairavi had to point this out to Janaka that even Janaka, you still have not attained perfect knowledge because you are still differentiating between man and a woman. If you are if you have got to that stage of perfect Brahmajnana, then you won't look at me as a woman. You would look at me as just another jiva, a jivatman seeing another jivatman. But then the jivatman can't see, the jivatman can only experience. So that is what happens in case of the householder's life. Sri Ramakrishna says one has to be extremely careful in even the Brahmajnani Janaka. He had to be careful not looking at the Bhairavi. Now, if you move about in a room filled with soot, Sri Ramakrishna now gives a very nice example. If there is a room which is filled with soot, soot is that all that burnt coal and all the black things in that room. If something is burnt, how that smoke and the burnt ash, they will create that black soot everywhere in that room. If you move about in a room filled with soot, you will soil your body, however slightly, no matter how clever you may be. Howsoever clever you may be, if you are moving around in a room which is filled with that soot, somewhere or the other, howsoever you may try, slight black thing will come and touch you. Like they say, the typical example that give that when you are trading in the business of coal, your hands are likely to get black. Howsoever you may avoid, if you are handling coal, you will have to get that black soot on your hand. So when you are moving around in a room filled with soot, howsoever clever you are, howsoever jnani you are, even if you are a great bhakta, the black soot will come and touch you somewhere. So Sri Ramakrishna says that is why the householders have to be extremely careful. I have seen householder, now Sri Ramakrishna further says that how this actually comes into reality. I have seen householder devotees filled with spiritual emotion while performing their daily worship wearing their silk clothes. The householders, when they put on the silk robes, silk dhoti, and that top cloth, and they are worshipping, they are filled with spiritual fervor. The great spiritual mood intensifies them when they are worshipping in their shrine with all those silk cloths on, with the tilak on their forehead. They will have all the articles of worship with them, and they are in a great spiritual mood. I have seen householder devotees filled with spiritual emotion while performing their daily worship wearing their silk clothes. They maintain that attitude even until they take the refreshments after the worship. Once the worship is over, once the puja is over, then they will take the prasad. Till then, Sri Ramakrishna says that spiritual fervor, that spiritual mood had grasped these householders. They have grasped their mind. They are in a very high spiritual state of mind. But afterwards, they become their own selves again. Once that puja is over, once that archana is over, once that worship is over, then they will take away those silk cloths, they will take away that bead, and they will put on their regular householders' clothes, and then they are back to their householders' way of life. Sri Ramakrishna says they display their rajasic and tamasic natures. All that sattva is gone. All that sattva is limited to the shrine where they are performing puja, where they are performing that worship, where they are doing that japa and meditation. Till that time, that sattva is predominant. a very high state of spiritual mood. But once that they partake of the prasad after the worship, that's the end of it. Sri Ramakrishna says they're back to their rajasic and tamasic modes of life. The rajasic mode is I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And tamasic is just going down the drain. So that is what happens with the householder, Sri Ramakrishna says. One has to be extremely careful when one is leading a householder's life. One has to be extremely careful when one is living in this world doing the worldly duties. We don't know from where that rajas and tamas, they will come and catch hold of our neck. We don't know that. So one has to be always on the cautionary point. One has to be always alert in meeting all these negativities, all these temptations, all these attractions while leading the worldly life. Sattva begets bhakti. But even bhakti has three aspects. Sri Ramakrishna says it is the element of sattva which brings in this spiritual mood. But even this bhakti, Sri Ramakrishna says, sattva takes us to the path of bhakti, no doubt about it. But even bhakti has the three gunas. Bhakti has elements of sattva, rajas and tamas, and that is why the householders have to be always on an alert. Even bhakti has three aspects: sattva, rajas and tamas. The sattva of bhakti is pure sattva. That is the purest of the pure sattva. When a devotee acquires it, he doesn't direct his mind to anything but God. When it is a sattvic bhakti, in that sattvic bhakti, the devotee has got only God as the goal. The devotee has got only God as his final destination. There are no other the attractions. There are no other temptations which can take that bhakta away from the God. With the sattvic bhakti, the devotee is always inclined towards the path of God realization. He pays only as much attention to his body as is absolutely necessary for its protection. Then, the person who is endowed with sattvic bhakti, for him, the rajas and tamas, the rajasic and tamasic bhakti will never interfere with his path towards the God realization. That is what happens with the householder. Even if there is a rajasic bhakti, there is all the chances that the devotee will get towards, may I get name and fame. May people say he is such a great devotee. And then people will start donning the silken robes, putting the religious marks with the rudraksha beads and all those external show-offs. That is what happens with the rajasic type of bhakti. The tamasic bhakti, again, the bhakta is not at all into the highest mode of spirituality. There is again some kind of give and take in that bhakti. Oh, what will I gain? Oh, what will I do? What will I get in return if I do so much of japa? And the tamasic bhakti again, oh, I am having such a bad time. Oh God, I will do 10,000 japa and please take away this bad time from me. I will be yours. That kind of the bargaining takes place. But with sattvic bhakti, Sri Ramakrishna says, it is a single pointed bhakti towards the God, and that cannot attract the mind to any of these worldly temptations and attractions as far as the householder. Householders who have the sattvic bhakti, there is absolutely no fear. But they have to be careful. They have to be cautious about the rajasic and the tamasic form of that bhakti, even if they are leading the life of a great devotee. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna's word of caution for the householders, that one has to be extremely careful leading the life of householder. And today again, Rakhal is very much there, staying with Sri Ramakrishna, and Possibly, Sri Ramakrishna wants to imbibe this point to the young child mind of Rakhal, that don't get trapped in the householder's life. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swamiji.